Hello. How are you?
Hey. Meeting is now streaming live. Okay.
Oh, good. You could see it on the
I
end?
see something pop up saying meeting is now streaming live on Facebook.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I think I need to change my intro. I say the same thing every week. What's up? How y'all are doing? I hope y'all have had a very good week and continue to have a very good week for the remainder of it. And I want to thank you, first of all, for continuously tuning into Gyhaffin, for continuously engaging with us, letting us know what our content is like to you, how receptive you are to it, you know, and how needed is it right now in the height of COVID. And as I keep saying every episode, we want to make sure that we are hearing our viewers. We want to know what you all want and what conversation, what Gyhaff you would like us to have, what content you would like us to put out. Last week we had an insane Gyhaff with Peggy Andrews, Department Head of Social Services and Public Health. So I'm not going to even go back there. For persons who tune in, thank you so much for that. For all our viewers every week who will continuously tune in, I think it's about 12 or 13 weeks right now. So thank you so much for that. You know, we are really pushing to make sure we hear you and we are responding to the needs, the content that you require, all right? So thank you so much for that. My team and I, thank you for that. Today, we have no other than Edsel Gumbs. Before Edsel talk, I told him this before. Well, him and I were talking before we came live. For persons who always say, the youths, well, let me just reiterate, not every youth fumble the bag. I can say that, not every youth fumble the bag, because here, no one fumbled the bag. Of course, we have our downtime, of course, but we have not fumbled the bag. So, all right, so when it comes to that kind of statement, let's just remember that. I personally know Edsel from high school days, Danny School Bus, and for persons who from Dutch Quarter, if you're tuning in, this is for Dutch Quarter. Well, it's for everyone, but we have to highlight Dutch Quarter today. He's laughing. We definitely have to highlight Dutch Quarter today. So, Edsel, I will give you the floor to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're about.
Good afternoon, listeners of the Gyhaffin Talk Show with Keoma. Edsel Gumbs, as you heard from Keoma. And what we would like to talk about today is business and a lot of the challenges that we as a society have been faced with when it comes to scaling our businesses and even launching our businesses in general. So Keoma saw a post that I put on Facebook the other day, and it struck on her to ask me some questions privately. And then both of us just said, you know what? Instead of going into details behind the scenes, why don't we just go on the show and just make this a broad community speech where everyone can engage and we all can learn from this, because even during the conversations that I come to advise and to mention things in the sense of things that you could learn from, I too learn from a lot of this. So I would like for, during the course of this entire talk, Gyhaff, that we could definitely get in tune with some questions. I know that a lot of people are trying to get in contact with me now because of the company that I work for, Qredits. We do have a project that we launched about 2 weeks ago. And it's definitely one that ones should not let or be taken for granted, so to speak. So we're going to also touch a little bit based on that. But mainly, I would like to touch base on the challenges that we've been facing since I have been sitting in the seat of Qredits, where I could, be in firsthand situation where persons would come to me directly and mention some of their grievances. So I would like to talk a little bit about some of those things today.
Oh, thank you so much, Edsel. So just to reiterate what Edsel stated, this is always about the viewers. This is the time. And he's mentioned, it's hard to get him. I had to bite some nails last night. Say, hey, listen, what was it, like 9, 10 o'clock last night? I had to bite nails. And he just said, you know what? Okay, let's do it. So thank you so much for that. And this is an opportunity we want to take advantage of. Definitely. We would like each and everyone, wherever you are, whatever questions you have, you can comment, engage with us. Let's just have a very good gaff today, all right? This won't be long because he's on a clock. So let's just be a sponge, all right? So Edsel, you mentioned, I saw it on the 25th of August 2018, you posted, an accountant helped you to save in a tax expenses by finding unique ways to declare annual losses. Goes to the bank. This is a scenario, by the way, for persons. If you're trying to understand what the hell is she reading, this is a scenario, right? Goes to the bank for a business loan. Bank asks for these same financial statements. Bank thinks twice because it seems as though you don't make enough, you don't make money, cannot receive financial injection, cannot grow, or pay high amounts in taxes, which still prohibits you to grow in some ways. Edsel caption here, let me read his caption. This is so 2 days ago, this showed up as his memory on Facebook, right? And he shared it. And he said, this is so ironic. I had to explain these exact lines to a client yesterday. Tell your accountant thanks, but no thanks. Edsel, talk to us about this.
No, this for sure has been one of our biggest issues on the island, as far back as even before I started working for Qredits, when I was working for Windward Islands Bank, where, we have a lot of business persons, legally, I must say, so it's not an illegal thing, but where they would prefer to show less income made for a particular year than what have probably naturally been their original income for that year, in order to save on taxes. So there's many ways that you could go about doing this, and it's not an illegal thing. It's definitely legal, but it only saves you a buck when it comes to paying your taxes. Mm-hmm. It does not save you when, though, you need to come with these same documents and present it to a bank or any type of financial institution or an investor and mention, hey, here I have a company and I'm looking for a loan because I want to scale my business. Scale in the sense of to grow my business, to expand my business. But these documents show that you haven't been earning an income that would allow us to believe in the fact that you would be able to scale the business, because over the last, let's just say, for example, 5 years or so, you have been showing losses or not enough revenue or income, profits. So then the bank would just simply say no. But now in reality that you probably could afford a loan, So I've just always been hearing about, the banks don't help the people. The banks are only in for people that are not from here, local. And, it only took me to then sit in the seat of those bankers and then realize exactly what the real problem was, or still is, which is they are not preparing for a loan the way that they should be preparing for a loan. Besides the preparation for the loan, they are not preparing for, not they as in all, but most of the applications I would get, especially for startup businesses, they are not preparing to open up a business with prior research before making that decision to wanting to open up a business. Because when you finally, start to ask your first and second and third question is when you realize, like, you sure you want to go into this business? Because you don't even know, based on what you're telling me, that you could even generate a profit. You don't even know that there's people on the island that even wants to buy your product or service, So how are you going to reach to a bank and persuade a bank that people would want my service or people would want my product, and you've never tested out in the market before? Example, there's people who could cook, or at least to them, they could cook. But they need to know that the rest of the community feels the same way about their cooking before they go and invest, for instance, $50,000 to see if my food would sell. That's our way of doing business on the island thus far. And, it doesn't only waste money, but it also wastes a lot of time. It also demotivates a lot of our aspiring entrepreneurs in the sense of, they feel that I am ready. I'm ready for the business, but then they don't get a loan that they applied for. And some people are demotivated to the fact that they would just give up on their business ideas and probably go back into the employment field, so to speak. I also saw that one of your, having mentioned about going back into the employment field, I saw that one of the questions from one of your popular viewers, referring to, do you want to repeat the question then for everyone else to hear?
1 minute. Let me get to it. 1 minute. Let me get to it.
All right.
I'm here maneuvering myself, people.
Okay.
You want to read it? Edsel, read it.
Yeah, because actually I could remember the question, but I just don't remember it word for word. But practically the person asked.
I have it.
Yeah, okay.
I have it. Let me read it. The question is, what programs are available or should be established to teach financial literacy and entrepreneurship to children? And I would add, I think we can also add to even adults. Because before you answer the question, right, there's one thing I really want to reiterate what you stated. Because I personally know persons, business people will think, you know what, let me downplay my revenues so I will pay less taxes. But clearly the trickle down, the information is not trickling down properly, because now when it's time for them to go to the bank for a loan to enhance that same business service, they become compromised, right? So let me ask you, why do you think that is? Do you think that our people choose not to be informed, or do you believe there are information available to persons who would like to start a business? Like, I know the Chamber of Commerce is there. The Chamber of Commerce is there, where that's my first job, right? But where can persons acquire this information from, Edsel, before we go to that question?
Zero, Keoma, sadly. You just mentioned, yes, the chamber being one of those bodies. A place like the tax office should be able to give certain information as well. But you only get this information if you ask. So I would call it a two-way fault, where our entities could go the extra mile and be proactive in this, especially knowing that it has been a problem for this long. We could be proactive in the manner, in the sense of, you give the information regardless if the person knows or not. Let them be the ones to explain you that, okay, it's okay, I know about this already, and it's fine. I'm good on my own. But we don't teach. If someone comes to register a business, we ask for the requirements, we get the requirements, and we issue the license. Full stop. We don't ask, do you know that you're supposed to go to the tax office after this? Do you know that you should do this? Do you know that you should not do this or that? That's not existent currently on the island. I must admit, though, that in the chamber, when I served as a board member about 2 years ago or so, it was on the table that we would be training the staff in order to assist each walk-in client a little bit more when it comes to this type of guidance. But so that's one end. And then the second fault end to that is the responsibility of the specific entrepreneur themselves. The person did not inform you, but you're not asking any questions anyway. You know that.
Okay. But how can someone ask what they don't know? How can someone ask what they don't know? Because if you don't know, you just don't know. Who do you blame? But I personally would think, there are some persons who are curious and they will go out and ask a lot of questions. There are some persons who just go by what they were given, what was presented to them. So I'm not I don't want to hold anyone accountable, but I think what would have been, as to add to what you stated, seeing that this has been a trend, maybe, just maybe, what financial institutions, chamber of commerce, or even to the notaries can host community information sessions for persons who have interest in opening businesses, and let them know from this to this, what is expected, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, and even to the payout of the tax, because that I think is such a key point that we really need to reiterate. And especially a time like now in COVID, there's so many persons who are laid off, they're starting small businesses. And the reality is people don't have money. So they're taking whatever little they have from their pockets and they want to save $1. So this information is so vital right now, even more than ever. Would you agree?
No, 100% indeed. And I do agree with what you mentioned with, it comes down to the character of the person. Some people just like to ask a lot of questions, and then they carry that character into these very same offices, and they ask even if they don't know. As you mentioned, how can I ask something if I don't know? But so I told myself that in a silent air once before. But then the other side of my ear or my mouth or whatever said, but hey, everyone know that you got to pay taxes. You don't know the process, but you do. You can't say you didn't know that you have to pay, that you should be paying taxes owning a business. So once the person registers at the chamber and they got their business up and running and didn't register at the tax office, and then 3-4 years down the line, they understood that they should have gone and register and then do this or file 0 if they weren't operational or what have you, then their simple response would be, I didn't know. No one ever told me. You know about taxes and you didn't ask any questions about taxes. So I understand that you can't ask a specific question because you don't know about the specific details, but you could ask very general questions. Hey, I just registered my business. Is this all I have to do? Is there anything else to do in order for me to, be in accordance to all the laws? That's a very general question that would get almost all of your questions answered.
I agree with that. But let me just be the devil advocate and say this, right? Let's just say because we seek professionals in our community for answers. So I believe my accountant is a professional. I hire their service because they are a professional in my eyes. So when I go to my accountant and my accountant advise me, hey, you know what? Lower the amount of income you make on the documents because you won't have to pay enough tax. And then now when it comes to obtain a loan, should there need a loan, so who's at fault there? The accountant.
Definitely the accountant, because I agree with you in the sense of, if I too go to an accountant, I'm not, I didn't study finance per se, even though a lot of my work surrounds the financing field, but I'm not an accountant. So I too would need to go to an accountant. I do know enough in order to not be 100% guided by one, but I could put myself in the shoes of someone that is not financially literate and would put all their trust into an accountant. So that's why I said, next time, tell an accountant thanks, but no thanks, because I do know that most of the advice does indeed come from an accountant. I mean, even when you go as far as asking questions about what's on the financial statement, the entrepreneur cannot answer one question pertaining to their finances. Ask my accountant. He's the one who's handling all my finances. And then it allows me to understand that these entrepreneurs that does not understand that these figures represents their business. Only these figures is their business in numbers. If you don't understand these numbers, you do not understand your business, 101%. You make all your decisions based on these numbers. So if only your accountant knows the information in your financial statements, then only your accountant could also give you advice as to the decisions you got to make 1 and 2 and 3 years from now, or even right now.
But no.
So, but that's never the case. An accountant would never tell you, for a directed type of decisions to you should lay off some staff, or let me say most of the accountants, because I know there are some accountants that are very hands-on when it comes to giving advice. But most wouldn't, most would just take the financial information that you provided them with and they either make your financial statement or file your taxes at the end of or before the 15th of every month. That's it. There's no advice. There's nothing. People who write business plans for others, I could also understand that everyone can't write their own business plans, 101%. So when you do get an assistance from someone who wrote your business plan, Keoma, persons would go as far as receiving the business plan back from the person that assisted them with the plans and just hand it right into the loan officer. Never open the plan, not even once. They give it in as a requirement. Now, come on. And now when the person asks you a question from your own plan, you can't answer not even one question about your own business.
Before let's not forget this, okay? I want to read some comments here. And Zinga said, hey, Nzinga. Hey, Zing. Good afternoon. And Zinga said, we as locals must understand that you need a business plan first and not emotions. All right. So I do know we are here in St. Maarten, right? And we are talking to our local population, but we do also have persons from throughout the Caribbean region. I just saw someone in Zimbabwe. He just commented, hi, Farai. I know it's late in your end in Zimbabwe. I saw also Fiona is on from Antigua. And Leo said, I did exactly that. Trust all on the accountant. Wasn't until I learned my financials to accurately, oh crap, I lost it. Because whenever I have like 4, can you see his comments? His last
I'm seeing the exact 4 that you're talking about right now, yeah. Oh, it just disappeared on me too.
And after receiving another one, it all goes, you know?
Why is that?
I really wanted to mention that. But he's basically stated the exact thing happened to him, right? Until he had to go through it and learn it for himself. But I personally believe, Edsel, I know a lot of us, we rely on a third party. Oh, this person is an expert, I don't have to do that. But in order for you to even begin something, you have to know what you're getting yourself involved in. You have to be able to know step by step what is happening, what is going to happen. You cannot rely solely on a third party and thinking, oh, let them handle it. Because that's where you could also be hoodwinked as in be deceived, be cheated on. If your accountant knows your mannerism, over time, it's easy for them to squander your money, to mishaps in your business. You know what I mean? So I strongly believe we as people, we need to have that sense of responsibility, and not just when it comes to business, but in all aspects of our lives. We need to hold ourselves accountable when it comes to that. And Lena, that's Agreed. Right, or else you are left in the dark. Yes, Lena, we agree. So go ahead, Edsel.
Yes, I was trying to think on one of the other than taxes itself and the business plan. I was wondering about when it comes to application. You was gonna say something?
I want to read. So I read the question. Or would you say we answered the question already? For this talk, my question is, what programs are available or should be established to teach financial literacy and entrepreneurship to children and people in general? What do you think needs to be established? And who do you believe, should I put you on the spot to ask you which entity you believe needs to establish these?
But everyone knows which entity should be establishing these types of programs. We do have an education minister, you know. We could have big entrepreneurs also hosting their own workshops or whatever and doing this on a small scale. But this needs to hit our curriculum, because business should not be something.
Education.
Thank you.
Okay.
In primary school, not even high school. I'm talking as far back as in primary school.
Okay.
You know,
can you let's come on, really and truly. You know, when it comes to our education system, the Stone Age system, I just yesterday I was speaking to a friend of mine. We were talking about traditional classroom settings, homeschooling, private schooling. And I really need you to just say what you said just now, not even high school, but primary school, because the times are changing continuously. And we
Yep.
need to be able to impart the knowledge of what is happening right now. We need to build human beings that are self-sustainable, and for them to, we need to impart that knowledge in them. So carry on, Edsel. We need to just
No,
really break down.
definitely, and it's never too young. That's why I mentioned primary school. I have a very quick example of I remember I was on the basketball court just a couple of months ago. I think right before the lockdown, and it was a day that we hosted a small event, just a one night event, and one of the guys decided to bring his son along, but with a cooler of drinks. So, and he let his son be in charge of collecting the monies and handing the drinks to us. If you could have seen the spark in this little boy's eyes when he go into his pocket every time he need to give change, and I'm sure everyone else, they were more into the basketball game, but you know, behind the scenes, I'm just looking at this little guy because I know what this small deed or action that the father did for him would create in his life, you know, with his perception. Every time he would go in his pocket to give change, and the big coil of money is in his hands, and he gotta, you know, go through all the singles and the $5 and stuff to find change, he was blushing. You know, he couldn't even believe the amount of money that was in his hands just from one night of bringing a cooler of drinks on the court. And I said, Pops, you know what you just did to your son? You just sparked an entrepreneurial you know, mindset, and the gratitude that yeah, in your son's mind. And that's why I'm saying that this should actually be from primary school, because just watching how this little boy understood the benefits from that one night already, I know that we should definitely get this in the minds of our young ones, so that as you hear the old saying, you know, the old trees can't be bent. You know, you got to bend the stem of the tree when it's still young, or else you would already be stuck in your ways. Even in my household, that when I growing up, I was also taught as an African American black man or whatever. You know, when you go to school and when you get a job, and when you go to school and when you get a job, and I'm like, you know, I stuck with it for until then. But then when I went to college, and then I got this this business mindset, and it all started just from ordering one item on eBay, and then from there it just triggered an entire business mindset for me. And I just decided, I came back home and I studied business just immediately. I just had a change of heart. Employment would not be solely for me. Everyone needs an employment to either get experience or as a stepping stone. And eventually, I think that more people need to go into the entrepreneurship route. When you ask, not to pinpoint per se, but I will pinpoint because they definitely have a strong culture of business. But if you ask a Chinese, you know, why are they working when you are seeing them working, it's always a stepping stone in order for them to eventually own their own business. I could only imagine that their parents haven't taught them, when you get a job and go to school, and when you get a job, when you get a job. I'm sure it always have been when you own your business and when you own your business, you know? So that's why I think it really has to start from a pretty young age. It's a culture.
It's a culture.
And you can't, you can't instill a culture too long down the line of high school and after high school.
I see Zilla agree with us. Lena as well. Zilla said, hey Zilla said, I strongly believe financial literacy has to be a part of the curriculums in school. Angelina said the schools here in the Netherlands is taught, if you do not pass your business plan and the financial aspect, you don't graduate. I'm grateful because getting those classes is the reason I'm able to handle every aspect of my business. But to add to what you stated, the experience or what you witnessed with a young boy with a cooler, during the summer, my sister was home. Well, not even the summer, the lockdown. We were home for the lockdown, and she decided, you know what? She wanted to spend some time with our nieces, but constructively. So she decided to work with them to create a lemonade stand. We had two of it outside of Housing Foundation there by Belvedere. And just to have, you know, just to see them being a part of it, a part of the marketing of it. We were sharing it on Facebook, on WhatsApp. And then the day of the actual sale, they were part of the setup. They were the ones who were actually participating in serving their clients. And when they went home and they count, you know, their profits, my eldest niece was like, oh, she didn't understand. You have to take investment. And there was an issue there for her, for Kiara, right? But just the whole thought of being able to do that for me, what my sister did and Mabel did, was a gift, right? Because as I sat with my niece, I told them, I said, we are doing this to you all, to show you all this, because our parents didn't have that knowledge when we were your age to impart it in us. We are in our 20s and 30s, and only now we're trying to learn how money works, how business works, how the finance work. But because we've experienced that, we now have the opportunity to show that, to teach it to you when you're this age. And the good thing is, they believe it's so much fun. They don't understand, they don't even realize they're actually learning a skill that will benefit them for the rest of their lives if they really participate and if we continue to groom them with it. So I definitely agree with that. And I would also say, even though the Ministry of Education can also be held accountable, right, to revamp our education system to a certain extent and impart these programs, our parents also play a role.
Big role.
Parents also play a role in this. Even if you don't start a business, go out every now and again and take them to your job. Take them out, explain things to them. Don't think, oh yeah, they're too young to know. Teach it to them. Let them ask questions and be open to teach it to them. So definitely agree. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But having said that, we do, you mentioned, I know that the question was specific to the young ones, but you added on and referred to you know, even persons our age and older than us as well. There's just temporary workshops that are held for this. We did have a program at USM when the University of Curacao came and had a program. That's actually where I graduated from, but they didn't continue it. They didn't continue the program after I left. I'm not sure what is there in the business field now, but that program was a program to obtain your bachelor's degree. I do know that you could have gotten your associate's degree on the island, which I also got here. But in order to do your bachelor's, we had to either leave the island, or in that case, Curacao used to fly their teachers in every other week. But that stopped. So I'm not sure what's there. But fortunately, Qredits, the company I work for, we plan to roll out a program later on this year where it is my task to find the perfect platform in order to roll out this Be Your Own Boss project practically. And it's a business course that at the end of it, you should be able to hold your own when it comes to planning and running your business. So I'm very excited to roll that one out in the near future.
Oh, very nice.
Sorry?
I would like to know what would be the duration of that project, of that program? Do you know that?
No, we're still ironing out some details. We did make the copybook already, so I do have the copybook with me on the island. But when it comes to the specifics of how long it will take, if it's a 3-month course, 6-month course, 1 year, that's those details are not available as yet. But as I usually do, I utilize my personal Facebook page to carry out information from the company I work for. So that wouldn't be a problem. And I definitely tag you on the information so that you could let your viewers know of the updates when it comes to this program that we should be rolling out pretty soon.
That would be very good. That definitely would be very good. You mentioned something, you stated, you know, when you were growing up too, that what was imparted you, go to school, do well in school, get a job. You know, that was the same with me. I worked, and I think I want to really say this to the public, I worked for 10 years. And I remember there were days where I left and I'm like, what did I just do? Right? You work for 8 hours and you still felt like you didn't do anything. So after 10 years, I mean, not everyone will do what I do, but after 10 years, I quit. I said, you know what? I am not fulfilled. I am not feeling a sense of fulfillment. And I quit with very little knowledge on money, on how to do this, but I was determined. Listen, I have to figure this out. And I told myself, if I ever look for a job again, it means that I failed. Because the reason why I'm leaving is to figure this out. And it's been 7 years. And I can tell you, it's been a journey, but it's been one that I must say, Edsel, that is rewarding.
You wouldn't take it any other way.
Explore myself, and I'm open to the fields of endless possibilities. And this is something I really want to reiterate and encourage our people. Do not be afraid to come out of what I call the institutionalized environment, the 9 to 5, the 8 to 5. I am not against it. There are some persons who are okay with it, and that is fine. But if you really want, if you have a desire, a deep desire within yourself to start your own thing, whatever that may be, you know, I left. But I didn't just leave because, oh, I'm fed up. I planned it. I had a whole year plus planning, putting things in place, making sure certain things were in order. And when it was time, I knew it was time, I left. Yeah, so Edsel, on your WhatsApp status, I read this here, right? A good business idea with good demands that's backed up by capable manager equals a business opportunity. Elaborate on that for us, please. Should I read it again? Let me read it again. A good business idea with good demands that is backed up by a capable manager equals a business opportunity. Explain that, expound on that for us, please.
Correct. I found it very much necessary to conclude that within my status, because I've realized that the opposite has been the most, popular request, where one of those factors, maybe once one of those factors are missing, it translates into a denial when it comes to loans. So this caption was more related to loans. That's why I refer to opportunity. You would have certain people, there's a good idea, but it's not backed by a capable manager. Then you speak to some persons, they have the capabilities of a good manager, but the idea isn't too good. Then there's the business, the idea that is good, the manager is good, but the market intended to roll out this idea isn't fit for it. So that's why I summed everything up together, and only that together would translate into a business opportunity. Because if you're missing just one of those factors, then it would just be too much risk for any financial institution to embark in, so to speak.
I'm definitely coming by you. I'll meet you. So you say you're on the basketball court. I'll be in the basketball court, right? Terrence Frederick said, I did the same thing. I walked out, and now working for me can't work for no one. And I'm happy doing it for me now, 14 years. Terrence, I congratulate you for that. And let me reiterate. It's not the easiest. You have to have grit. You have to want it.
Wow.
My sister said to me, are you crazy? You went from a paycheck every month, you know where your money was coming from, to not knowing where it was coming from? I said, listen, I have to figure this out. Like, it will work for other persons, it have to work for me. And I've been on the grind ever since. And trust you me, you do things that you never imagined. You jump on planes with $100 in your pockets, you go to conferences, and I'm telling you, like, listen, I'm not gonna even say if I did it, you can do it. I won't say that, but I will say you have to want, not it, but you have to want better for yourself, whatever that better is. You have to know exactly what it is you want for you. And when you think about that, don't think just about yourself. Think about the persons who are behind you. Don't feel a sense of responsibility directly, but indirectly, you will have children. What legacy are you creating for them? Do you want to just die and everything you harness here on earth died when you die? Or you want to create something that can last And for me, what is important, my parents did from point A to point B. I think it's a responsibility for me. Not, I don't feel a sense of responsibility like, oh my God, I'm being burdened, but we have to listen to ourselves. Terrence said, I make $20. I make $20. I'm happy. I make $5,000. I'm still happy. God is good. You know, so I trust you me. If you want to do it, but do it calculatively. Make sure your responsibilities are in place and you know how to do it. But you have to jump. You have to go. You cannot stay safe. You have to go. All right.
Well,
You have to go.
And anyone that does believe in one of the popular sayings, you only know how strong you are when being strong is the only option you have.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. You know, as you're saying, you don't know where the next dollar is coming from. And that's exactly what makes a good entrepreneur strive through the struggle and make it work. You know, it has to work. I mean, I spoke to people that I'm telling them, hey, you know, this looks a little risky, and they'll be like, Edsel, this has to work. And you know, they would knock out all of that, what I was thinking about previously, telling them that this look a little risky, that because I know how strong that saying is, that when they know they have to make it work, it does work, is when I just have a bit more faith, because a business plan or a business idea could sell on its own, but some need a lot of effort on the back scene, behind the scenes, and that would be an example of your back being against the wall and you doing whatever it takes to get your business to strive moving forward. Definitely.
Yeah, but I think also, just to add to that, I think what is necessary is for us to know our sense of direction. Is if you're in finance, you know that's it. If you're in culinary arts, you know that's it. So whatever opportunity, what do you want to say there?
Man, that's a popular. This is one of the popular. No, definitely. When it comes to that very same topic, I try to advise people, as you're saying here, to try to stick to your passions. If it's not one of your passions, make sure then it's one of your skills.
Yeah.
Don't copy Harry, Sarah, and Peter and Paul and everyone else because you see that it's a successful business.
Yeah.
There are other businesses in your field, more than likely, and if there aren't any, you can be creative enough to make it a business in your passion or one of your skills. We have too many persons going into business, like you're mentioning, that has no idea of the field that they're gonna embark in, but they only know that this field, you can make a lot of money in this field. Full stop. That's it. That's all I need to know. That's the direction I'm going into. It doesn't last. It does not last because it feels no different than a job that, well, some people do, wake up in the morning cheering to go to their employment, their job, depending on what they're doing. But for those who are not, that's how you're going to feel. If you have a business running and you don't have that passion for it, or you don't have the skill for it, it's not going to be a long-term business at all. So I really try to advise, as you're saying, make sure that it's something that you're familiar with and that you know about before you decide to go in a particular direction. I just wanted to iterate on that. Yes.
I have to say again, you have to have an interest, because I'm telling you, you'll be high one day because things will be flowing, and next week you will have lows. You will feel like you're losing it, like, oh my God, like what is happening? I'm pushing so hard and nothing is happening. And there, in that lowest moment, you have to find it within your gut and get up and go again. You have to be persistent. You have to be persistent. You have to put yourself out there. And putting yourself out there does not mean you have to be all over the place. Know where your market is. Understand what you're doing. Understand what your fields are. And what I say is this: be honest with yourself. Personal development. Critique yourself. Persons will say certain things to you, take it as a constructive criticism. I call this show up and participate. I still do it. I will look online to see what conference is happening in whatever country, what is happening locally, and I show up. There, many times I go to things and I have no clue what they're saying in the beginning. And you know what I do? I show up and I listen, I pay attention, and and I go again, and I go again. Because as a friend said to me in 2011, how do you know how would you know, how do you know what you like if you never tried it all? How do you know what you like if you don't expose yourself to it? How do you know what you have interest in if you don't put yourself in it? All right? As long as you do not go against who you are and what you stand for as a person, it's okay, because all it is learning. You have to put yourself out there, but at the same time, manage yourself while you're out there as well. Definitely.
Definitely.
Right? So let me see. Nadia said, market research is something you should always start with. So let me mention, someone wrote a comment, posted a comment about diverse markets. I missed that. Can you, if you're still here, can you post it for me, please? Diversity in the market. Someone posted a comment. I wanted to read it. Please post that back. All right. Thank you so much. And
while they're doing that, can I go ahead with it in Zinga first?
Go ahead.
Okay, because it's exactly relating to the comment that you're asking them to post again. I personally had a situation on Facebook probably about 2 to 3 years ago. I definitely went about the wrong way of doing it, but my message that I wanted to send out was exactly about diversification. I posted about a particular business that was recently launched, and I posted about it and I say, here we go, another one again. Now, I got a lot of backlash for that, because people, what you don't mind your business, and if they want to open up this type of business, it ain't you to say this, and these people could be successful. It's all about competition and only the strong survive. And I'm saying, but I'm not telling the person not to go in business. I'm telling them to either come with a twist or do something totally different. You have to be diverse, because I understand that only the strong survive. But if there's a way where two people could open a business and both can flourish, that's the direction of the advice I would rather to give. I do know that two people could go into the business in the same field when one strive and one dies more than likely. So that's not a good thing. Even though we could give props to the one who survived and probably had the best marketing or whatever have you, or management skills. But I was looking for ways where we could get more and more businesses to be established on the island and not have to compete as much with each other, in order for all of them to sustain themselves, especially during these times right now. Now we're having I took a lot of heat on that post, and as much as I tried to repeat myself, that the gist of the post was to just refer to diversification. Every single article I read since then, whether it be magazines, whether it came from the ministers, everyone spoke about diversity all of a sudden. Right now, we're suffering because there's not enough diversification. 80% of our business is directly in the tourism field. No tourists on the island. What's going on right now? If we would listen to certain things from the beginning, we would still be in this situation, yes, but it would not have been this bad, because we did have persons of let's call it respectable positions in the field that we were speaking, and they were totally against what I was saying. And because his position was even, so to speak, higher than mine in the sense of respecting the professionalism of the profession, persons ran with what he said over what I was saying. Now, this very same person is only referring to diversification as well, So if we would have embraced this some years ago when we were mentioning this, a lot of people wouldn't be in the situation that they are in right now. So I just want to, whoever posted that comment, I would like it to be posted like 3 or 4 more times because this cannot be repeated enough, because it's very important on a small island like St. Maarten, with for the size of the island is a huge population, but in terms of anywhere else, we do have a small population as well. We cannot be in the same line of businesses, people. We have to be and has to get creative with our ideas. It doesn't have to be something that already exists. Sit down, think about an issue. Our natural way to think about business is, let me see what persons would like, and I could probably serve that or sell that product. And my experience in business and reading up on a lot of articles and stuff is that the most successful businesses does not, to say, make someone happy, but it solves someone's problems.
Definitely.
Yes, that one, when you tackle and you think about business plans in the eye of what do I hate the most, whether it's a procedure, whether it's from a product that I have to wear and it always is itchy or whatever have you, something that you don't like.
Yeah.
And you see that there are a lot of people in the community that does not like this specific issue. Find a way to solve that problem, and I promise you, they would be giving you their wallet. Not even what's in the wallet, their wallet would be on your desk to solve whatever problem that is. This is the way persons should start to think about business if they want to get pretty creative. That's where cars came from. We didn't want to walk 100 miles, so we invented a car. We didn't want to sail for months to get to another country. We invented a plane. So even though now we may say we like these items, but these items were created to solve issues.
Solve problems, yeah.
Solve problems. And that's what I would like to, that's the only thing I wanted to say, because I do have a lot of persons that come to me. They are surprisingly referring to a business loan, but with that same breath, Mr. Gumbs, what business do you think I should open? Excuse me? They didn't even get as far as wondering what type of business they want to open. But here they are asking for the requirements and the procedures to get a loan for the business that's not even in their head, much less to say on paper. So we just need to think differently about loans. It's not an entitled situation. Banks are not charities. We would advertise as if we are. But, Qredits is not a bank. We're a non-for-profit organization. So we are a social lender. But the majority of people who give loans on the island are banks. And that's who you face. And that is who you've been getting most of the denials from. And this is where it comes from. You are not confident in what you're going to do, and you come to sit in front of a loan officer to ask the loan officer the questions that you should be answering, not asking. We should be asking these specific questions. But from the time you come and ask me, and let's not go as far as what type of business should I open, but if you just come in general and have to ask a lot of questions about your business, you already sold yourself out. It's a no. And it's not a permanent no. It's a temporary no until you solve these issues or you answer your questions. And then you come back to me. A lot of persons would get a refusal and they think it's forever. It's not something to go home and work on and then come back to the bank. And then when they get outside the bank, they probably, broadcast the bank name and this bank don't give loans and that. You just ruin the relationship with the person that you could have revisited in 2 or 3 or 4 months from now. But again, it's our culture. We don't have, when we understand business, but and I'm understanding more that the business is nothing but a person. When I'm saying that I'm going to, let's just use Qredits as an example, you're not coming to Qredits. You're coming to Mr. Gumbs, or you're coming to Miss Delane. And when you understand the fact, or even for a job interview, when you understand the fact that you're not going to visit a building or a business establishment, but you're going to visit a person, then you would understand how much people skills has to do with obtaining whether it's a job or a loan. It's not always about what's on paper. What comes out of your mouth and your attitude and the way you present it has a lot to do with the decisions that credit institutions make. So I just wanted to also make that clear. Most of our people don't like loans. Why don't you like loan? I just don't like owing people. That's a street mentality. And I do understand that mentality. This is not your cousin.
Well,
this is not your friend. No, in a sense. No, but in the sense that, it's a prideful thing. No, I know, of course. It's what I get from it, because I usually ask questions. Every time someone has their mind made up about a choice, I always ask why. either so I could advise on it or I could learn from it. So, and the most popular feedback that I get is that I don't like to owe. But that's not what loans are about. It's not your cousin. It's not your friend. It's not someone that's coming to ask for the money when the money is not due. It's not someone that is going to go broadcast on Facebook that you owe money, but you're over there spending the money at this club and that club. It's business. So we need to separate the two and understand the benefits of loans. Some people are in a rush also when they're inquiring about the loan. How much is the loan term? 6 years, just as an example. Oh, I'll pay that off in 3 years. Why? Because I don't like loans. Okay, if you would tell me why, in the sense of because I don't want to pay that much interest over time, that would be a business decision. But if you tell me because you don't like loans and you don't like borrowing, then that's an emotional decision. And you don't make emotional decisions in business. Now you're going to pay off the loan. And then an emergency comes up in the business, and then now you got to go back to the bank and ask for another loan. No, take the extra funds that you made and create an emergency stash that you don't touch, and that's you. When you need a loan, you loan yourself the money and you put it back.
Exactly.
You don't need to come to a bank or any credit institution for that matter. But everyone is in a rush to pay off their loan because they just don't like loans. Check this example out. Just 1 minute example. If you would take a loan for $20,000 and you have been paying it over time and 2 years have passed or what's not, and your balance is now $5,000. What if you continue to refinance your loan every time it comes to the balance of $5,000? Don't you realize that you never repaid that $5,000 ever? Even though you borrowed 20, you got to use 20,000, but you continuously pay back 15,000 because at the point of $5,000 being your balance, you always refinance. So you go back up to 20, up. So you never ever pay back this $5,000. That in itself is a reason to take a loan. The interest that you pay on a yearly basis, some people don't know that you could file this within your taxes and you receive money back for the interest that you've been paying accumulated for the year. All of this is, again, financial literacy that people need to understand in order to know that loans are actually good. If you speak to any one of the financial gurus on YouTube, I'm nothing compared to those guys when it comes to experience, at least. They never use their own money. They could have $1 million. You never use your own money. Even if you have $1 million on the bank and you need to buy a car, they still take a loan for that car. It's not a financial, it's not a business thing to do to use up your own funds. You use other people's money, in this case, a bank. But for more information on that, because I could talk like a whole 24 hours on that topic, but I urge persons to go on YouTube. No, you're not getting me back to speak about it. Yes? No, I'm just joking. No, I'm just joking.
I told you 45 minutes per hour, then you were like, wait, so you're up in it? Well, we're an hour in already. You see how fast it goes?
I realized that, and we're not even halfway through a bit, but it's okay. We could go ahead, yeah.
This is why persons don't realize. Oh my God, it's a 2 hour, but when you start to talk and the information, is out there, it's so good, it's flowing, So Kevin said, Vaughn said, great empires were built on borrowed money, and that is something I had to also learn. I learned it over time because I was raised in a family where there's no loan. It's cash, 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 So let me ask you. No, you already answered that question.
Yep.
Keep what you have and borrow. Definitely.
Yep. A pro thing. Yeah, I paid this car cash. I paid for this cash. And straight up, I'm going to be honest, it's a black thing. Because I don't see it anywhere else, and we feel that it's a proud thing.
What is a black thing? Is it? What is a black thing?
In this case,
go ahead.
But that's what I'm referring to. So it's embedded in our culture. To I even saw videos from 50 years old with persons with advertisement agencies advertising the way that black people buy. and the way that they should sell to Black persons. And when I read that, when I watched the article on YouTube, well, not the article, but the video on YouTube, and this was more than 50 years ago, and I cannot believe that everything they mentioned then to sell to a Black person is still quite relevant today.
Because it's an inherited mindset. Our grandparents taught our parents teaches us, and where you have a lot of times what we are taught, we don't question it. Because think about it, if we were really to ask our grandparents, why you send me to do this? They have no explanation. They will tell you, don't ask me questions. My mother said this, my father said this, and you just do it. But they cannot explain to you as to why, and that's where you have the issue. We need to be able to dissect, to revisit our teachings and what we're really passing on to our children and what we're even keeping now. These conversations are so necessary to have.
It is.
When you say it's a Black thing, it's really, I don't, but it's a thing. But
no, I don't like it either, but let's just call it, facts.
Can I also say it's come from poverty? I'm gonna take that on my end. I'm gonna take that.
And I'm agreeing with you too, because that's when you need to tell the world about it. Yes.
I will take that responsibility to say it on my end.
Yep.
When you come from poverty environments, and poverty does not necessarily mean that you don't have things to eat, but the mindset. Oh God, I remember there. I don't want to go back there, but I remember, there are times persons will feel like if they don't have sugar to put in their tea, you're poor. If you don't have meat in your food, you're poor. If you have to wear certain clothes because it shows that you're living well, and at the same time you're starving. But I strongly believe it stems from a poverty mindset, and that for me is where we have to free ourselves. And I'm speaking to myself as well. We have to free ourselves from that, because we feel to ourselves, you borrow money from a bank and you have cash. Oh, I mean cash.
Yep.
If you spend it cash, you feel like you're liberated because you can show that you have cash to spend.
Correct.
God forbid, if there's a rainy day, what happens when you spend all that cash? You cannot go to the bank and say, hey, you know what? I have $20,000 because you have none. So what security deposit do you have to even put down there? We need to really revisit our mindset, and we need to have more stimulating conversations like this. Edsel, before we even continue, let me mention, we're just diving in the very deep. Robert said something, but before I read Robert's Boudica comments, we are working on gaffing continuously to build this platform, all right? And I am kindly asking persons to check us out, gaffing.com. We are working on it still, and we want subscribers. So if you do not mind, of course you don't mind, you're here, right? If you can subscribe with us, you can just comment. And Zinga, I see you're there. I should have you manage this today, right? And Zinga, if you can comment by sharing your email address with us, just to keep in the loop, I think that'll be very, very good, and we really appreciate that. Let me see what Mr. Boudica posted. Loans are good once it can produce much more than what you borrowed. Robert Boudica. Robert is an accountant as well. He's in a finance industry. He said loans are good once it can produce much more than what you borrowed.
Can I add something to that?
Yes,
since he's not here to verbally give the details of what he means by this. Okay, so that would be a good loan, and there are bad loans because of the fact I mentioned that loans are good, and what he mentioned, I feel that we got to be a bit more specific. There are such things as bad loans. Bad loans would go into what they would call stupid money, or stupid loans would go into liabilities. And it's exactly what we use our loans to do. We buy a car, and a car cannot bring money back to me. So in his example, you buy a car, but a car cannot bring nothing back to the table. That would not be a smart loan. If your loan though is for any kind of business venture, and let's just say, and it doesn't need to be a business that will yield more than the amount that you borrowed. It just need to produce more money on a monthly basis than what your loan payment is, and you're good to go. You know, then you shouldn't even have to worry other than the fact of comparing interest rates between different credit institutions. I find that we tend to stress too much about interest rates and these types of things. You need to make sure that whatever you're able to do with this money, you can generate much more money than you have to repay. That's it. So I definitely appreciate that comment from him, because that was a very, very important thing to mention. Stop taking loans for things that cannot bring you money. I know you need to get to point A, from point A to point B. Car loan, I'm speaking about here. It doesn't need to be a brand new car. It doesn't need to be a loan of $25,000, $35,000. It could be a $10,000 loan. Well. There's where it goes. There's it again.
A brand new Jeep, a brand new this, you know. But one, I want to add this. This is a trickle down effect that we don't always think about. It feels good to know you can go and get a brand new car. But right now, this is where you are. But in 2 years, you'll be thinking about a home. You want to have such a family. And based on your salary and that existing loan for a car, which depreciates in value the moment you drive out of the dealership with it, it compromises your opportunity for even having a mortgage. So what do you do then? What will you tell persons? Because you find this a lot here, I believe, on the island. Persons are eager to get their brand new car. I want a car. We got a fresh car. Right? But in 2 to 3 years, or even 5 years down the line, they're still paying that car loan. And now they're ready to build their home, but then they can't do it because they're not qualified for it, because they have this huge chunk of money, of possible money that they could have used, but it's tied up in a car loan or some other thing. What would you say to persons like that? Or to persons who
correct? No. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So in that aspect, again, I do believe that a car is almost close to calling it a necessity these days. So I'm not referring to not getting a car per se, because you could even get a car for your business and you know, help your business to generate some funds if this car is going to be used for deliveries, for instance. But I'm just referring to not having to go all out to buy luxury cars if you do have some other things that would be, you know, with a higher priority in your pipeline. What you mentioned, the only way that you could think in your example of getting a car and then 2 years later you're thinking about a mortgage, that advice, the advice I have to prevent something like that, which most of us probably don't do, is to start to think 5 years ahead from now and treat your own life as if it's a business, because business, you don't think what's going to happen next week. You try to think about what's going to happen next year, 2 years from now, 3 up to 5 years from now. You know, about 5, it starts to become a bit hazy. But most directors have to think between the space of 3 and 5 years. So if you would practice thinking like this, then you would have not gotten a car that's worth $35,000 or $40,000, knowing that possibly in the next 2 years you would have been wanting to apply for a mortgage. Aside from that, it boils back down to the literacy, financial literacy, to the information from the credit institutions, and once again the importance of our parents in our lives and our roles. Because as a teen, I did not know about having to put aside $30,000 in order to put it as a down payment in order for me to get my mortgage. So even if I have a permanent job today and I'm making a good salary, I don't have that down payment, and I can't borrow it from a bank to use it as a down payment to give another bank. So how do I save up $20,000 to $30,000 in the space of 1 year? It's impossible. So that's why, again, these things should be taught during primary and high school, so that by the time you reach high school, you start thinking about, 15 years from now when you're going to buy your house. so that you could start saving for that deposit if that's your dream. You know, some people are okay with renting, you know, maybe they don't even have a child or anyone to leave a house to, and they prefer to just rent for the rest of their lives. Nothing wrong with that. But in the case where you know that you want to have a house and have you know, a family line carrying along you know, the property that you would now have as a mortgage, you should be thinking about these things as a youth, because it's the only way to be prepared at that point of time down when you actually want the mortgage, unless at that time you decide you somehow embarked on a business opportunity and the business is that successful that you could earn or save $30,000 within a year, and that's when you would be able to then be eligible for a mortgage. But I mean, how much percentage of the community is that? You know, would that fall on? Most of us are told, get married, you know, get someone that is, yeah, so, so that we, yes. And the reason is to just join salaries together. Yeah.
There's a system, you know, but I think listen, the conversation needs to happen, because I must add to what you said. So many of us do not even know, before we can, in order for us to purchase our own home, we need to have a down payment. Not only a down payment, we need to have the notarial fees and legal fees.
Correct.
And those there are a few $1,000s as well.
Yep.
So, and also, persons, you can bash me if you want to, but what I'm about to say, it's up to you, all right? But hear me out. I understand, we all need to work. When you leave high school and you get a first job, it's okay. But you won't be 18 or 17 forever. You won't be 20 forever. You have to, we have to reevaluate ourselves ever so often, because we're getting older. Our interests and our demands are different now. And what we desire also is different. Is this job, I'm not telling you to open a business, but is this salary I'm working for, is it nurturing my life? Can it give me what I want? Because we can be working for 5 years at a company, making not even $2,000 a month. And after 10 years of working, we still cannot qualify for a proper mortgage.
Correct.
We still cannot save enough money to even pay the notarial fees, much less a down payment of a home. So why you think you feel comfortable, oh, I have a job, is that job serving you in return? Is it giving you what you need in return? Is it supplying you, aiding you to receive the necessities, your home, your transportation, your family? Do you want, when you have children, that you have to calculate to see, you know, if I can buy a bicycle? After you push 40 hours or some people 60 hours a week, it has to make sense. So it comes with personal evaluation over years. I'm not saying you can't start off at minimum wage. I started off working at minimum wage after high school. But after 2 years, I left because I felt that I was no longer growing. I felt as though my mind wasn't stimulated anymore. And I left. And after my first day walking into First Caribbean Bank, oh God, I said it up there. It was the 16th of January 2008, the first day. As I walked through the door, I told my manager, I'm not here to stay. And ask anyone, they will tell you, I was 22 years old. I'm not here to stay. And I made sure I never got comfortable. I just made sure I kept pushing during that time. And 3 weeks shy of 6 years, I dipped. I was gone. I couldn't get comfortable because I told myself, how am I making this amount of money? And I'm working for 10 years. And I'm not discriminating the paycheck, but everyone's needs and desires are different. So we have to evaluate ourselves, because we cannot want all of this and confine ourselves to this. It has to make sense.
So important that you mentioned that, because I tried and I understand exactly why you refer to being bashed before you could express yourself, because it's a very ticklish subject. That, and again, it's because of our mindset. We tend to blame the businesses for this. Oh, minimum wage. They got to raise the minimum. What about us? What about our choice? We're not forced to stay in this seat and accept minimum wage. So I'm so glad that you mentioned that you found it. I mean, it's the same thing with a relationship. You could just choose to stay in an abusive relationship, or you could get up and leave that toxic relationship and either be on your own or find a new relationship. You know, it's the same thing with a job. If this person is paying minimum wage, you have no right to tell them or ask government to force them to pay more. You don't have that power. The power you have is to find a different job, is not paying minimum wage, or start your own business or personal development. I find it very difficult to believe that someone would be enhancing themselves for 5 consecutive years and their employer would still continue to pay minimum wage and they would stay. I find it very hard to believe. And then we would just argue to government about changing things.
People like knowing I have a job. It sounds good to say I have a job, but you're serving your job. But is your job serving you? That's the thing. You're serving your job. Edsel, let's. I don't want to be rude. Let's run. Listen, 2 weeks ago.
You warned me.
Yeah. I know we're 18 minutes after 4, Edsel. But
yes.
2 weeks ago, NRPB launched loan/grants. This is like the hot topic right now. Before we dive into that, right, what I want to know is I remembered clearly directly after the hurricane, I think it was the Foreign Affairs, Kingdom Interior, I don't remember the exact name of the ministry, but in Holland. They allocated, I think it was 7 million euros, and those monies were distributed to various entities, including Qredits. Qredits had a certain amount of money to stimulate the economy based on providing loans up to $25,000. I don't want you to divulge how that went, but now with this new opportunity, this new business opportunity for a loan/grant, just launched 2 weeks ago, right? What was that like? Because here is something else is happening very similar. So persons might be like, oh my God, I want to grab and go. But that was your first experience, I would say. What was that experience like now, and what you're anticipating now based on that experience?
Well, practically everything that we were talking about in the beginning has summed up to exactly what I'm experiencing right now. This is exactly why I wanted to come on your show and explain all of this, because we are challenged with benefiting from all of these types of deeds for the business community. But the reason we cannot benefit from them are the very same reasons that we were debating earlier. Not having this paper in order, not having these taxes in order. My business has not been operational, but I did not officially close it down, or I haven't been filing zero in the meantime. All of the business practices that should lead to you adhering to all the business practices, rules, and regulations is what is preventing our entrepreneurs and business people from benefiting from these projects. Also, with the stimulus check that just passed, all we're going to see is the statistics of the amount of people that applied and the amount of people that did and did not get assistance, but you would never hear the reasons of why they didn't get assistance. But these very same people would be on this platform. It's ranting, you know, but they're not going to mention, I didn't have this in order, I didn't have that in order, I cannot apply because of this and that. And I know for a fact, without having the details, that a majority of the persons could not qualify because they did not have things in order to prove if they were eligible for the assistance. Simple as that. And right now we have, as you mentioned, loan/grant. If one would actually go up to $150,000 right now, and it consists of 2 different packages, package 1 and package 2. I'll only explain package 1 since that's the one with the grant. If one would, just as an example, acquire or request $100,000 to do whatever for their business, asset related or repair related, their loan from $100,000 would only be $35,000. meaning $65,000 from that $100,000 you do not have to repay. There will be nothing like this again. There have not been anything like this prior. I would love my business community to take full advantage of these loans, but we cannot if we don't have our stuff in order. It's a 2-year project. Actually, the project lasts 4 years, but we would surely be trying to push as many loans in the first 2 years for sure. And so you have a lot of time to get stuff in order. The project only started about 2 weeks ago. That's why I found it necessary also to come very early in the project stage to reiterate, as you mentioned a few times, get your stuff in order, people. If you don't know what to do, get an accountant and ask these questions. Go to the tax office. Yeah, I was actually thinking about it.
About we can say what our taxes and mess up our opportunities to have these loans.
No, but now that we know about it, we know that we would not allow an accountant to lead us down in that direction. You know, you need from your accountant to show how your business can scale, how your business can obtain and manage a loan and repay a loan. That's the purpose here, you know, in preparing for this project. But try to be creative as well. Try not to stick in the industries that we have always been stuck to for the last year. I mean, even before I was born, I'm sure, you know. There's a lot of digital platforms now. There's a lot of websites that you could, you know, services that you could do online where the world would be your playing field. You know, you don't have to only worry about the local market. You don't have to worry about what if tourism doesn't come back anytime soon or what have you. Just be creative. You have time. Don't come in asking loan questions if you don't have all your details out, because then you're not ready for a loan. If any loan advisor listen to you and you do not have all your details in order and we ask questions and you cannot answer it, it does not mean that you will never get a loan. It just means that you are not ready for a loan today. But you could do this research in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever have you. You know, some businesses more complex than the other, but you could get there. And if it's something to do with your paperwork, you could also get there. You know, if it's something to do with your taxes and you owe how much ever, then of course, then you're kind of stuck there. And I can't advise anything for that. It's a mistake that you made, but you have to slowly get yourself out of that hole with a payment plan to the tax authorities. But if that's not the case, just try to do a lot of research before you come to try to utilize this great, wonderful opportunity that I'm sure will never, ever, ever happen again, where you would get a certain amount of money and 65% of this money you don't even have to repay. It just won't happen again like that. No.
Definitely massive. But Edsel, let me ask you, for persons, we had Dominic, I don't know, I can't remember if I mentioned Dominic earlier. We had Dominic Hodge. I did mention her, Dominic Hodge, in one of our episodes. And I know there are so many persons right now who are contemplating starting their own business. Never had a business before, never registered. So let's say they have the thought, they know what they want. What do they have to do? They go to the Chamber of Commerce, register the business officially first. They have all that has to happen. What has to happen before they get to you?
Self enhancement, in the sense of creating that business mindset. YouTube is our most popular and most let's say easy access, free, having not to mention free. That's our college, that's our new college. Even for myself, as I mentioned earlier in the talk, while we were gaffing, I mentioned that I do have my bachelor's degree in business management, but I must admit, everyone, please listen carefully. Most of the knowledge I have pertaining business came after I got my degree. YouTube, books, reading. It was not the degree that I have is what led me to be here in front of you right now, or in the seat that I am in as a loan officer. It was a lot of the research that I did after the school. So don't let I don't have this degree, I couldn't afford to go to college and all of that crap demotivate you, because most of my knowledge came after my degree. So that's what I would like to say to those people. Get yourself up, get your learning on point, find a business that or a problem that you're trying to solve, and then you could definitely there's many people that are consultants that you could pay and get some advice from. But Qredits in particular will be hosting monthly workshops, different topics. Yes, different topics every time: taxes, marketing, HR. But we would always be communicating maybe about a week in advance before every workshop, that we would be covering up a particular topic. So we will be doing our part, but you also need to do your part in the sense of joining these seminars and these webinars in order to enhance, the business skills and business mindset before enhancing the brief idea that you have in your mind right now. Tell me.
Will these training be digital? So you can view from anywhere, or in person?
Both physically and digitally. And they will be free as well. God. Yeah, they will be free.
And I must add too, when you mentioned YouTube and obtaining knowledge, you don't have to pay for everything. You could go online, free courses. I saw there's a Shaw Academy that is currently conducting free courses for 4 weeks on so many topics. It's advertising through Facebook and Instagram. We do not have to spend money at everything, people. Yeah. And not everything that is free mean that it's not good. There are good things out there. Not everything that is free mean that it's not good. And to add to what you said, let me just say something personal. So many persons believe that, you probably have a degree and all that stuff. Let me just share something personal. I'm Guyanese, came to St. Maarten at 9 years old, and went to the whole schooling system. And in fourth form, I started researching fashion designing schools. And I found out I would not have been able to be qualified to study financing from the government. Why? Because I was not naturalized Dutch as yet. So my parents started the process. Long story short, what was supposed to be 1 year took 10 years. So when the naturalization did happen, I was already over the age qualified to study financing. It took 10 years. So I never got up and went to a university. Not by choice, but I always say I fell between the cracks. But what I did, I educate myself heavily. I'm always reading. I'm always attending conferences. I'm always doing something to enhance my knowledge. Always, always, always. Yep, right? Yep. So saying that you don't have a university degree is no excuse.
No excuse at all.
Whatsoever. The responsibility is on us. Definitely, it's on us. Yeah, we are responsible for ourselves. And so we're here for an hour and a half.
Yes, and no excuse to not, if you're not a reader, just because I don't like to read personally. I know it's very essential, but I just don't like to do it. I've been not liking to do it. That's why YouTube is also a great alternative to some of the copybooks, because you sit and you listen, So for the ones who are, I wouldn't say non-readers in a sense, but do not prefer to read, or they're better audible audible listeners, but to understand, you understand better with the audible versions than to say visual or reading, because when you read, you have to imagine. But when you listen, you also have to imagine. But certain people could learn better either with visual effects or just by listening. And for me, it's about listening. I'm a very good listener. So that's just my personal choice. So again, no excuse.
No excuse. For me, it's reading. For me, it's reading and visuals, videos and reading as well. The audio, I tend to lose focus. But what also helped, I will say this, you spoke about articles, you reading articles. I read a lot of articles. I read a lot of persons who read these books and did these studies. I read a lot of synopsis, excerpts, and case studies. I read a whole bunch of those things as well. just to have variety of knowledge, wide range knowledge. All right.
That's the best. You learn
Definitely.
from their 15 years of their research. They put it in a book,
Exactly. Exactly.
and you take just 5 hours,
Amanda,
and you got all of that experience. Yep, perfect,
exactly. So
perfect.
we have no excuses. And let me say this too. Do not be afraid to say, I don't know. Teach me, explain this to me. And if someone explains it to you once or twice and you still don't understand it, can you explain this to me again, please? It like I'm telling you, you have to be
Yep.
persistent, not irritating, but persistent and meaningful. Have intent. Amanda Hunt asked, when will the training start? While you answer that, let me get something ready.
Yeah,
Go ahead. When will the training start?
when we move into our Amanda, when we move into our new office, which should be September 1st, at the end of September, we should have our first training. What you could do in the meantime is like our Facebook page. That's Qredits. Let me write it. Let me write it in the chat.
Am I there? Are you there? Are you
Yeah.
put it on the top? Okay.
Yeah. I'm putting the Qredits page in the chat so that persons could like the page, and then they could stay up to date as to when we would be having these trainings and what topic we'll be covering for that specific training.
Perfect. So just a reminder, everyone, if you can check into gyhaffin.com, subscribe with us. You can comment your email address, or if you prefer, you can contact me privately, share it with me, or you can just go on the website. We're still working on the website, enhancing it piece by piece, so bear with us, please. But we definitely would like to keep this conversation going, these gaps going, touch base with you. Let us know what it is that you want us to speak about. And again, just keep in the loop of what's happening with Gyhaffin, with Keoma, all right? Edsel, we're like, I don't want to I sometimes it feels as though we're cheating persons, but at the same time, we have to be really cognizant with the time. Yeah. Thank you, Zilla. I see that. Thank you so much, Zilla. We have to be so cognizant with the time. It goes to show you how needed these conversations are. We need to have them. And as I said, even though we are based in St. Maarten, we have so many viewers and followers throughout the region. And I personally am a part of a group that is about 70-something or 80 persons in this group. And they're all spread across the African and Asian continent. So there too, there are persons from the group that also tune in. And I really appreciate them for tuning in, because some of them are like 9.5 hours ahead of us. Some of them are 4 hours ahead of us. So thank you so much for staying up at all graveyard hours to view in for Gyhaffin. Thank you, Legacy Ray Gotkin. Thank you so much. It's something when you go to school with persons and you see them here and you have to call their real names and talk. Thank you so much. Edsel, how do we wrap this up? What can we say to wrap this up? How can we?
What would be most important for me is because all of the stuff that we really talked about really boiled down to the fact of and the importance of self-responsibility. So that's where I would like to leave everyone with. We cannot depend on what others should have done in order for me to have done this better and that better. Focus on what you could have done better instead of what you can still do better in order to curve things around. If you have already started with something, if you have not started as yet, just be mindful of the things that we already spoke about and be self-responsible. Do not rely on information that should have come to you without you asking. Do not rely on it. Ask, and ask. I'm sure your teachers always said there's no such thing as a stupid question, especially if you don't know the answer to it. So don't feel shame about it. Feel shame for not asking, honestly.
Definitely. And it's all for your benefit. It's all for your benefit. And what I would also want to add to that, on top of everything we spoke about today, besides self-responsibility, remember, we're not just doing this for the sake of doing it. Have intent. Understand what you're really doing. If you're working or you want to start a business, why do I want to start this business? And as what Edsel said as well, what problems exist that we can solve? Because we don't sell products, we sell problems, we solve problems. The products are attached to the problems. But what we discuss is the problems our society has. Persons are traveling and they need a place to stay. So to curb that problem, hotels were created. That was a problem fixer, all right? Cars were created to fix that problem of walking. Bicycles were created, all right? So we need to think of issues that we have, and problems doesn't mean, oh, this big thing. Look, examine, question, analyze what is out there that we can respond to. And as Edsel said, not because Tom or Harry is doing this and they're working for them mean it's going to work for you. Understand what you're doing. Be a part of the process from the start up until the end. Of course, there will come a time where you will have to delegate, but you have to know step by step what is happening in your business, in your affairs, even when you have an accountant. Your accountant should be so mindful as to what they're doing with your paperwork, because they know your character is he always checks or she always checks. But if you develop a habit of not being detailed, having an investigative mindset,
good,
you will definitely open up yourself. I don't want to say to failure, but to be cheated. Not everyone will do it to you, but persons will see the opportunity where, hey, I can hustle right here. You know what I mean? So it's all our personal responsibility. Everything starts with us. So Qredits exists, Edsel exists. Edsel has an insane schedule. So what I would encourage persons to do is to sign up for Gyhaffin. Subscribe with us, please. I'm asking. Subscribe. We're talking about business building here, and I'm building this business, this media and consultancy.
Exactly.
And I cannot do it alone. It's a team of us. You know, I can't do this alone. I need persons. I need subscribers. You know, I need that network as well. So one hand clap the other. So guys, thank you so much, Edsel. It's a pleasure. And DQG.
DQG. Thank you so much. No, it was definitely a pleasure. All day. You know how much times I told you that I said no under my breath because I know I just don't have the time. But fellow sister, no, definitely. I mean, because fellow sister, and I'm reading the comments and I'm really understanding how important this topic really is, you know. So that's why I'm saying I'm practically working right now. I'm not off the clock because I'm still talking business, you know.
Exactly. It's needed. And so we need to do this again. Even if we talk about the same thing, you know, we can't say one thing once and expect our people to get it, expect us to get it. We need to constantly speak until this becomes our norm. And like, I'm going to pledge that we won't stop until it's become not just our norm, but a reality. Our mindsets definitely have to change. So thank you so much to everyone. Lawrence is from Guyana. Lawrence is always tuning in. Thank you so much, Lawrence. Lawrence is my neighbor in Guyana, actually. Let me put him out there. Lawrence is my neighbor in Guyana. So bye, everyone. Thank you so much. I'll see you next week.
Thanks, everyone, for listening, tuning in.
Definitely. Let's do this.